Good Friday evening to all. So, I am here to, sorry, I'm playing with the levels a little bit. I'm going to be giving a free rune reading for this live Q&A. If you're watching this after it's been archived, then what you're going to be learning is the kind of rune readings that I do when I give rune readings, which are right here. Oh, sorry, right here. runereadings.thunderwizard.com. If you would like a rune reading from me, that is where you can get one. And we specifically do what is known as a 9-world rune reading. And so as you know, the tree of life is named Yggdrassil in the Northern European tradition. And Yggdrassil has 9 branches on it. By the way, this is the case in many different traditions, not just in the Northern European tradition, but if you look into other traditions, such as the Siberian shamanic tradition, where we get the word shamanism, by the way, comes from Siberia. In fact, sorry, I take that back. The word shamanism is a made-up word. There's no such word as shamanism. Shaman is a word that is found in Siberia, and they practice what we would call animism, which is the belief that nature has consciousness, that everything in nature has a consciousness: rocks, trees, plants, thoughts, ideas, animals, and of course the stars and the planets and the spirits and the gods and the ancestors, and everything in the universe has a spirit with which you can communicate according to animist belief. And so the Siberian shamans are animists. Now, we in the West a few hundred years ago made up this word shamanism, which is used to describe any belief system that is animist. And as it so happens, in every single culture, if you go far enough back, especially in the West, when you go before monotheism, before Christianity, you have animist belief systems. You have nature-worshipping belief systems. So, divination is part of that, and we have in our tradition from Northern Europe, we have runes. Of course, you're familiar with tarot, and the Celts had Ogham, and I am not skilled in either of those. I only know runes. So I'm going to be giving a free rune reading here today in the 9-world rune reading, just like here in the opening picture. So that's the setup there. You create a spread where you create a 9, like the 9 worlds, in the center, surrounded by 8. This comes from my use of what I call the thunder wheel, which is a physical representation of the 9 worlds of the world tree. And this 8-sided wheel is used again in multiple traditions. It's used in China, and it's called the Ba Gua, which means 8 gates or 8 doors. You can call them 8 passageways, however you want to look at it. The Vedic, in India, they use what's called a Dig chakra, which means direction wheel. And that is used in astrology as well as their version of feng shui, which they call Vastu Shastra. So, point being is that this is not just something that I've decided to throw together because it's convenient. I treat spirituality as a science. And for me, if spirituality is not a science which has observable laws, then it's worthless. Then it's just a bunch of ideas that we're throwing around and it means nothing. It may or may not work. You know, science is when you observe nature and you take notes and you do experiments and you do tests, and when you find that something follows predictable laws, we call that a science. And I believe that spirituality is a science as well. Otherwise, like I said, it's worthless. I also use what's called the rune wheel, which is the same concept of taking the 9 worlds in a circular pattern, and we take the 3 eights. The runes are made up of 3 sections of 8, and we place those into each of the 8 worlds that surround ours, and you get the rune wheel, which looks like this. Now, all of that can be found in my books, which you can go here to michaelwilliamdenny.com. I was just looking at that today because I'm putting together a new website for rune certification, by the way. There's going to be a whole website dedicated to nothing but runic instruction. It will have all of my rune videos, both free and paid for. And I was looking on the Amazon site that has all of my books, and there's a couple of books that seem to be missing. So I'm going to have to, excuse me, a couple of videos. All the books are there. So there's a couple of DVDs that are missing. In any case, I'll get to this later, but the new website, which as of today, which is Friday, July 20th, is not up and running yet, but if you're watching this after it's been archived, it should be up. It will be up and running very soon, and that is going to be certification dot rune readings. Whoops, that's not rune readings, is it? Rune readings.thunderwizard.com. certification.runereadings.thunderwizard.com. That will be up and running by the end of this weekend, and so that is going to be made available to anybody who wants to either study the runes with all of my material, all of my video material, and some extra material, some extra videos. This will include videos that are on the free channel. I've taken some of those and embedded them there. It will include all of the, I believe, all of the rune videos for the subscription channel, which is thunderwizard.com, and all of the DVDs, which I tallied up. Let me see if I can have those. I tallied up what it would cost just to get all of the DVDs, and I believe I came up with a figure of $250. So if you wanted to get all of the DVDs that I have about runes, it would cost you $250. I'm going to have all of those on the website as well, and some new teachings, and there's a new technique that goes into even greater depth, which I don't believe I've shared yet publicly. I'm going to put that on there, and that can be a place for anybody who just wants to learn about everything there is to know about runes, rune shamanism, rune divination, which is what we're going to do today, and then advanced rune shamanism, which can be used for all kinds of things. And so I'm going to be sharing something with you here today, which is having to do with the 9 worlds of the world tree in regards to rune readings. Whenever I do the 9 world rune readings, I don't just deal with the 9 worlds, because it's more than that, right? So, and of course we will be talking about that. So the runes, when they're placed like this, represent each of the 9 worlds, and it shows you in a snapshot what kind of energies are coming up from that world. So remember, we live in what is called Midgard, which means middle yard, Middle Earth, as it's been coined by Tolkien, which is actually very accurate. We live in the middle of a nexus point. And I talked about this in the last video, that Earth is actually the most powerful place in the universe because this is the nexus point for all of the other dimensions. And so for those of you listening to me who want to escape this world, and you want to go to other dimensions, I suppose you're free to do that. It's a free universe. However, this is where all the power is. So if you really want to grow, if you want to gain in power and knowledge, you need to stay here on planet Earth, because this is where all the other 8 dimensions come together. And so we live in the middle fortress. In fact, it's so powerful here that there has to be an actual fortress surrounding us, because otherwise we would get pulverized by all of the energies coming at us, just as the Earth herself has an atmosphere. And if you took that atmosphere away, we would get pummeled by the radiation of the sun. So we need to have that protection, which is why we live in the fortress, the middle fortress. That's what Midgard means, middle yard. It means the middle fortress. That's why Scotland Yard, it says like, what is this yard in Scotland? No, yard means fortress. So, you know, when you got all the policemen in one place, you got this fortress that they reside in. Okay, so we're going to be doing some free rune readings today. If you're new to the channel and you're just showing up, welcome. The way that I do these live Q&As is I only take questions. So when the time comes, I will open it up for questions. The way to ask me a question is to write question before you blurt out your question. Please think through your question. Please put the effort into making sure that, you know, there's a sentence with a subject, a verb, and an object, and that it's readable and that it makes sense. Don't just blurt things out. And please try to avoid just dumping your opinions and saying hello, because then I have to scroll through all that and try and find the questions. We're not going to take questions right now. We will later. But right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a free rune reading. Now this has to be somebody who has never gotten a rune reading from me before. You've never gotten a rune reading from me ever. You've never gone to runereadings.thunderwizard.com, bought a reading. You've never had a free reading from me on this live Q&A. So it has to be somebody that's never had a free reading from me before, or a reading at all, paid or otherwise. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to take the person who has, you're gonna pick a number. Don't start yet, because I haven't told you the range of numbers, so you have no idea. So the number that I'm going to pick is going to be from 125 to 195. That's your range. So pick a number between 125 and 195. And let me see, I've got to decide. Okay, I've decided what the number is. So I now have the number in my mind. If you think you're psychic, maybe you can pick it up. So the person who has the closest to what I am thinking between 125 and 195 is going to get the free reading. And when I say stop, that means no more guesses. So again, I don't want to do a reading for you if you've already got a reading from me before. So, all right, so the numbers are coming in. Okay. Okay, so remember 125 to 195. All right, so I'm going to give it another 5 seconds, and then I'm going to stop. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's it. No more guesses. All right, so let's take a look and see here. The number that I chose was 146. So let's take a look here. Okay, there's so far Christina Escobedo is very close. Yep, Black Earth Productions would have won, but he's already got a reading from me, so unfortunately he is not eligible. So Christina Escobedo at 150. Let me just double check so I don't piss anybody off. 146 was the number that I picked. Oh, sorry. It's good that I checked here. I'm sorry, Christina. I was wrong. Melanin Wise 222 is at 144. I'm so sorry about that. Please forgive me. So here's what I'll do. I'll do 2. So you'll be the second one, and I won't do any more because we don't have enough time to do more than that. So we're going to start off with Melanin Wise 222. So Melanin Wise 222. I'm going to do a reading. Now, this is how this is going to work. You don't have to think of any focus. You don't have to have a question, okay? If you want to focus it on a question, you can, but it's not a question. Please don't ask like, when am I going to get married or when am I going to win the lottery? Nothing like that. It has to be something like, what should I do about my work situation? Or what can I do to find my soul desire? Or, what's going on for me spiritually, or what's going on with my health? Those are the kinds of questions that the runes want. They don't want other stupid nonsense questions like, how much does it cost to buy a car or something stupid like that. Okay, so Melanin Wise, I don't want you to type in what you're thinking. I don't want to know. So don't type it in, but be thinking about what your focus is. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and lay this out here, and then I'm going to take a picture of it, and then I'm going to upload it here onto my little thing so you can see it. So what we do is we take, you're going to do me a favor, Melanin Wise 222, you're going to take a deep breath in and hold it. And we're going to ask Odin for his help. I'm shuffling the cards once. Exhale, take a second deep breath in and hold it. Now we ask Vili to guide us. Okay, there's a card that wants to jump out, so I'll let it jump out. Exhale. Inhale a third time. And then we ask Ve to guide the reading. Shuffle the cards. Okay, exhale. All right, so now, there we go. We've gotten all of the shuffling in. So I'm going to go ahead and lay this out here. And I wonder if my chair is even big enough. I think it's big enough. So I'm laying this out in the 9 worlds, as I said before. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a picture. So it's going to take me a couple of minutes to take a picture and then to upload it here. So while we're waiting for that, you guys get to watch my cool little intro, and then I'll be back and I'll give you the interpretation of the reading. So give me a couple minutes, I'll be right back. Okay, so that's the layout there. Now, let's see if I can do something else here. I think I can do something else here kind of cool, so hang on. Bring that up over here, I click on that, and then I go like this. Yeah, there we go. All right, so now you can see the rune layout as it is. So let's go ahead again. I don't want to know what your focus is just yet. We do get this out of the way here, so maybe the other rune students can begin looking at that and come to some conclusions about what they think is going on with this reading. I haven't looked at it yet, just spent enough time to put it up there. So, all right, so let's take a look. So remember, we're dealing with the 8 worlds of the world tree. The 9 worlds, which is the 8 external worlds plus the center, which is where we are. Okay, so that means these runes are all in aligned with the 9 worlds. So, as I'm looking at this here, the first rune we want to look at is the one in the center. So the one in the center, let's say, before I do that, let me do something else here. Really quickly, let me do something else. I want to put up here for you the 9 minds. So I was going to do this and I got distracted, but when we're dealing with the 9 worlds, we're also dealing with the 9 minds. So I believe that we can look at the human individual as made up of 9 different minds. Of course, there's all kinds of ways we could do it, but for this works very well. So let's take a look at what the 9 minds are that we're going to be looking at here. Okay, did you get a look at all that? So we're going to be looking at this in terms of that. So what I'm looking at here is I'm looking at your 9 minds and what is happening to you in terms of your 9 minds. So let's go ahead and take a look. So right there in the center, I'm seeing that you have ehwaj. Ehwaj is the ancient word for horse. Remember that? I don't know if you're familiar with that play called Equus, E-Q-U-U-S, Equus. That's the Latin pronunciation of the word for horse. It's the same word. We have it as ehwaj. It's the same word. You can hear the similarity. It means horse. And so this is in Midgard, which is your experience. It's your conscious mind. The experience of your conscious mind is that you are in a place of trust, because that's what this means here. Because in order to ride a horse has to trust the rider. It trusts the rider, and it intuitively connects with the rider. And, you know, like I've been on, you know, when I was a kid, I remember, I wasn't a kid, when I was a teenager, I had a girlfriend who, you know, showed horses. And she had this trained horse that was, you know, thoroughbred and all that. And that horse was trained so well that you could just sit on that horse and think about where you wanted to go, and the horse would go wherever it was you were thinking, you know, because you're subtly doing little tiny things with your body. We might even say that there was a psychic connection that the horse was, you know, horses have this. So this means that whatever it is we're talking about, you're going to tell me what you were focusing on, is that in your conscious mind, you are in a state of trust. You are turned over intuitively. You have an intuitive connection with whatever it is we're talking about, maybe with everything, with the whole universe. So that's the first card, which is your conscious mind right there in the center. We go up to the middle top card. That is the one for the north, which is the realm of the waters, the mist home. And here we have Uruj. Uruj is the oryx. This is the ancient bison of Europe that no longer exists. And according to historical writings about this animal, it was incredibly fierce. And in fact, it took a very, very, very long time for human beings to be able to, you know, turn them into what we now know as cows, these very, tame creatures. It took a very long time to tame these creatures. So in Ice Age times and beyond, these were extremely fierce creatures. It represents physical strength and power. So, again, I'll know more when I know what your focus was, but this is energy that is coming to you. This is your intuitive mind. So this means this power of Uruj is on its way to you. You may be starting to feel it. Its power, its sexuality, its decisiveness, its commitment, its dedication, all of these things. You just put your head down and you've got your horns up and you're going after whatever you're going after. Perseverance is another good word. So this is coming to you and you're just starting to feel it. If you're not consciously aware of it, it will get to you soon. It will be your conscious experience coming up soon. So that's in the north. And we move to the top right. And there we see Wunjo reversed. Merkstave, which means reversed. So Wunjo represents joy, and that's the direct translation. But in my experience, Wunjo is not joy like, ooh, happy joy, joy. It's the warmth and joy that comes from camaraderie with friends and family and comrades. And so, like, if you're sitting around Christmas dinner with your family and you're all laughing and enjoying each other and the fire's going off and you're giving gifts, this is Wunjo. So here we have Wunjo reversed, which represents, in my experience, not sadness, but it represents disappointment. It represents disappointment. It represents, expectations that have not met your, something has not met your expectations. It could also represent stuffing of feelings, pushing feelings down. So this is in the realm of Asgard. This is the only other fortress, Yard, Os Yard, which means the yard of the Os, the fortress of the celestial gods. And here, this represents your super conscious mind, your aspirations, your hopes, your morality, your spirituality, like your religious spirituality, your religious fervor, your zeal. So it also represents hope, that which you feel really hopeful toward. So what this means is that you're not feeling hopeful on the level of your highest, your superconscious mind. Could mean that the gods feel disappointed. Now, don't take this as the gods are shaking their finger at you. This is your experience. You're projecting it onto them. So your experience is that the gods want something of you, but you're not living up to your own expectations of yourself on a spiritual, religious scenario. So there's this sadness in terms of lowered expectations. Disappointment. Okay, so I'll know more when you tell me more. Moving to the next one, which is the middle right, which is in the east. That is in the realm of the giants. And here, this is the ego. Because the giants are very, just totally self-oriented. And, of course, we're talking like negative giants like the Thyrses and the trolls and, those kinds of negative giants. They're they're selfish, but they're not selfish in the sense that I am. They're selfish in the sense of they're completely unaware of anything other than themselves, and they just don't care about it. They have no empathy. So this represents our ego, which we need. We need an identity. Who I am this. So when you don't have an identity, you can't function in this world. So this is talking about your identity, your ego, how you are giving to yourself. And here we have, Laguj. The rune Laguj, which represents emotions, represents deep emotions. It represents law in the sense of how the universe is going according to the law of your emotions. So this means that you have a strong emotional connection to whatever it is we're talking about here. In terms of your ego, you have a strong and healthy emotional connection. We don't ever want Laguz to be reversed if we can help it, because that is true denial of your feelings. That never works out well. So when it comes out reversed, it means you got to get honest with your feelings. Otherwise, it's going to come out in all kinds of nasty, unconscious ways. So this is good. Yours is not reversed. This is right side up, which means that you are in full connection to your emotions on the level of your identity, your ego. So moving on, we go to the bottom right, which is the rune for the subconscious mind. This is the dwarf home. The dwarves are the conscious entities of life force energy who operate on emotions. So if you didn't know that, the dwarves are very emotional beings. They operate on emotions. They feed off of life force energy. This is why when you do energy work, magic, yoga, breathing, anything that puts life force energy into your body, this makes your dwarves happy. This is why when you do things like use intoxicants, you end up getting the benefit of an emotional high without the life force energy, and your dwarves start to go chaotic. And that's why part of the reason you manifest all kinds of chaos, if you're putting that kind of stuff into your system, it's because you're not giving your dwarves real life force energy and they get upset. And they live in your lower self, which is in your navel center. They live specifically, they reside chiefly in your subconscious mind. So here we have the rune Elhaj. Elhaj is the elk horn. This was used as a weapon for, starting certainly in Ice Age times and moving up into modern times. It was a very powerful weapon. There was an extinct, which it's now extinct, a rune of elk or deer that had horns that were 10 feet across. So they were very fierce. Moose are very fierce. Elk are very fierce. Even deer are very fierce. If they've got big, horns, you don't want to be on the other side of those horns. So it represents protection, spiritual protection, but specifically we're talking about energetic protection. It also represents the shaman who's got his or her arms raised to the heavens, and he or she is transmitting heavenly energy and earthly energy, and it is expanding out to empower and protect the village. So this is energetic protection, and here we have it reversed. Now, the subconscious has to do with your ability to intend your reality. So this means that you are lacking energy. Specifically, your dwarves are lacking life force energy. So it's interesting, I just, without looking at this rune, I was making the example of when you take intoxicants into your body, intoxicants, intoxicated means you're poisoned. That's the meaning of the word. I'm not giving you my personal thing. That's the meaning of the word. You are poisoned. You're intoxicated. So that's just one example, not necessarily, I have no idea if you use intoxicants or not, but it represents that there's a lack of energy, meditative energy, life force energy. So doing things like Qigong and breath work and meditation and yoga, this will empower your aura and give you the energy. It will feed your dwarves. Your dwarves feed off of that, and your dwarves create everything. So when you intend your reality from the dwarf home, you are sending out the dwarves to go out with life force energy to create your intention. So here you, at the very least, have an experience that you are lacking this energy. So we'll talk more about that. Moving on to the bottom. This is I use the word energy body because I couldn't think of anything else, but this is the part of your psyche that you take action with. So this represents physical action. What is the physical action that you are taking in regard to whatever it is we're talking about? Here we have the Nautij rune in the south. And this is the home of the fire beings, the fire home. So fire represents action. It represents the passion to take action. Represents warfare, represents energy that goes to accomplish something. You can't do anything without, you hear me, that's my big thing. You got to take action. You don't take action, nothing happens. So whatever it is we're talking about here, you are experiencing the Nauthiz rune. This is good because Nauthiz means need fire, and it's two sticks rubbing together. And you think about, how did people come up with the invention of making a fire by rubbing two sticks together? By doing a lot of experimenting and being really cold and being so desperate that somebody had to figure out a way to create fire. And they tried everything they could imagine. I'm sure they tried, scraping rocks together and, whatever else that they could think of. And somebody just knew that if you rub two sticks together, it starts to create some heat, and maybe we can get things going. And, they create that little spindle thing, and they're doing the trying to get the fire going, and eventually somebody did it. He was so desperate that he just kept on trying, and he kept on trying, doing different things until he finally succeeded. And he, once he created that, once he was able to create fire by rubbing two sticks together, that was the guy who opened the door for everything else that we have in technology, because without fire, we would be just incapable of doing anything. So this was the guy that set us onto a new evolutionary path. So this is what you're experiencing. It means in terms of your actions, you don't know what to do. You're trying and trying and trying, and you don't seem to be making any headway. It feels like Perthro reversed, which is a totally different thing, which means karmic ending, nothing. There's nothing more you can do. This is it. You're not meant to accomplish this, and it won't happen. That's Perthro reversed. But with Nauthiz, it means you are on the verge of discovering something totally life-transforming. And it comes from thinking outside the box. Just like the guy who was trying to figure out how to start a fire, and he said, I'll try 2 rocks, I'll try 2 horns, I'll try 2 plants, 2 sticks, I'll try anything. And he finally figured it out. So you need to keep at it and keep trying and keep thinking in different ways. The best way to get through this is to say to yourself, okay, what have I been doing that doesn't work? And I keep doing the same thing over and over again. What can I do differently? Even if you don't know, even if you say, I can't think of anything differently, once you start asking the question, what can I do differently? Then you will find something that's never been done before. At the very least in your life. So this is where you are in terms of the actions that you're going to take. This is your energy body. Moving to the bottom left, this is the unconscious mind. So this is the underworld, and this is, if I had to pick one world in this reading, and in all 9 world rune readings that was the most important, it would be this one. Because this is the mind, the unconscious mind is where all of your beliefs are, all of your mistaken assumptions, all of your fears, all of your blocks, all of your past life issues, all the stuff that's keeping you from experiencing, your joy and happiness, the stuff that's keeping you trapped and keeping you from experiencing your greatest joy. This is all in your unconscious, and vice versa. All of the accurate beliefs and accurate assumptions, this is where the powerhouse is. The 98% of your entire being is your unconscious mind. So this is a very important rune here. Here we have Berchtana, reversed. So anytime we have a reversed rune in the underworld, it's a pretty big deal. So a reversed rune in the underworld is going to have a huge effect on everything else. And here we have the rune of beginnings reversed. It's not the rune of death, that's Yuhuaj. This is the rune of something has come to an end. You're either thinking about ending something, ending a relationship, quitting a job, stopping smoking, doing something different, but whatever it is, you're thinking about stopping something. But this is happening on the unconscious level. which means that you need to be bringing this to your conscious awareness. What is it that you've been thinking about ending? And maybe it's a belief. There's a belief system that you're trying to end. There's an assumption, a mistaken assumption that you're battling with. I'll know more when you tell me what it is. Moving on to the next one, this is the middle left rune in the west of Vanaheim, and this is Perthro reversed. Now, I didn't look at this until just now, but I just told you what Perthro reversed means. Perthro is the locked cup. It means that, what your destiny is. This is your orlog. This is, when Perthro is right side up, it means there's nothing in the universe that can stop this, not even the gods. This has to happen. This is what you are meant to do. Here in the West, this is your empathic mind. This is how you give to others. So how you give to yourself right now is in the East, you're giving yourself lots of emotional power, which is laguj. In the West, we have Perthro reversed. It means karmic end. That's it. It's over, done. Nothing can be done about it. So without knowing what's going on, my guess is that you're trying to give to something and the universe is just going, I'm sorry, this is done. This card is over. There's nothing left on this coupon anymore. You cannot buy donuts here anymore. Get out. You're done. If it's a relationship, it means the relationship is over. Sorry, that's all there is to it. If it means a job, giving yourself to a job, if it means that this is a path that you've been wanting to give yourself to, it's over. Nothing you can do about it. So I'll know more when you tell me what's going on, but obviously, this has a strong connection to the unconscious mind, which is, it says something is coming to an end. You're thinking of ending something, or something has come to an end. And here we have in the West, how you give to others. Obviously, there's a connection there as well. So maybe you're thinking about ending something because you can feel no matter what you do, you just can't keep this up anymore. It won't work. So Nauthij and Perthro, like I said, have Perthro reversed, I should say, and Nauthij, because Nauthij can't be reversed, have similar feelings, and sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between when am I on the verge of expanding and exploding into a new awareness and a new way of being that will revolutionize my life, and how do I know that I'm just beating my head against a brick wall? Sometimes it feels exactly the same. In any case, I'll know more when you tell me. So moving up to the, this is a good one. Moving up to the northwest is the home of the elves, the ascended masters, the shining ones. And here you have Yera, which is the rune of cooperation, the rune of relationship. And so this is your higher mind. When people talk about their higher self, their higher mind, this is what they're talking about. Not the superconscious mind. That is something altogether different. It has the same kind of effect where we get energy and hope and empowerment through our like crown chakra, but it's coming directly from the gods, our religious zeal self, our superconscious self. But over here in the west, the northwest, sorry, the wrong way, the northwest, over here in the northwest, we have the elves, the shining ones. These are the guides, guardian angels, those that give information. They are only here for one reason, and that is to guide you onto your highest awareness in your life. And whenever you get information from the elves, it always has something to do with mindsets and behaviors that will not only help you, but also directly affect others. They never give you information without helping you understand that this is how it affects other people. They're very, it's a big deal to them. So here you have exactly that, the rune of relationship, the rune of cooperation. So I don't know if they're telling you that you need to be more cooperative. I don't know if they're telling you that they are cooperating with you, that you have a cooperative relationship. I don't know if they're telling you you need to commit to the relationship. I'll know more when you tell me what it is. So before I find out what your focus was, I'm going to take a look and see if there's any rows of 3 runes that are Merkstave or upside down. So we do have 1, 2, 3, 4 Merkstave, and one that acts like a Merkstave, which is Nauthiz, even though it's really not. But none of them are in a direct line either this way or this way or this way or this way. So if they were, then that would tell me something, and that would be like there's a major issue, and I talk about that in the books, but we don't have that here. So yeah, I mean, the closest is that you've got some issues with your subconscious and your unconscious, which is affecting your ability to take action. Because you can see that the action rune is smashed in between these two, but your actions is how you're going to fix it. So whatever's going on that is causing you difficulty in your intentions and causing you to, sort of be stuck in letting go of whatever this is in your unconscious mind, the way through it is action. So again, it sounds like me anyway. That's what I would say anyway. You got to take action. Not all the time. I mean, this is what's great about doing these rune readings is sometimes you can say, oh, the thing to do is just wait. Because if Yggdrassil is there, then it's like, it just looks like things are a problem, but what's happening is that energy's picking up steam and you just got to wait. Anyway, that's not what's happening here though. So anyway, all right. So now I am ready for you to tell me if you had a focus. If you had a focus, tell me, and what was your question for the runes. So I'm waiting for, I know there's a little bit of a lag time here. Melanin Wise 222, I'm waiting for you to tell me what it was that you were thinking. Again, while I'm waiting for her, I am going to be giving out a website that will teach people my method of rune divination, especially the 9 world. It's a certification. I've given it out earlier. What did I say I was going to get? Certification.runereadings.thunderwizard.com. I think that's what I said it was. No, what did I say? Anyway, what did I say? Let me go look back here, because now I've committed it. Now that I've said it, I got to do it. Certification.runereadings.thunderwizard.com. I may have screwed up, but actually, rune reading certification. All right, so forget that earlier one. This is what it's going to be. It's going to be rune reading certification.thunderwizard.com. So rune reading certification.thunderwizard.com. That's what the new website is going to be. It's not up now, obviously, because I just came up with the name. But it will be up by the end of the weekend. And anyway. So, Kayara, you came here. You obviously came a little late. Unfortunately, I've already picked the 2 people I'm going to give rune readings to. And by the way, if you have a question, please write question before you ask me a question so I know what's going on. So, Melanin Wise says spiritual growth, etc. In case you're interested in Latin, et cetera means and other things. It drives me crazy when people say ex cetera. When people say etc., etc. drives me crazy because there's no such word. It's et cetera, etc. Et means and, cetera means other things, and other things. So, spiritual growth, etc. is your focus. So with that in mind, let's once again take a look at the rune reading here. So, you have the experience in the center that you do have an intuitive connection with spirituality, with the gods, with the ancestors, with the elves, with the dwarves. That is your experience. That's right there in the center. Echwaj means that. And you have a trust. You can't have this without trust. That's why this rune also means trust. That's your experience. Your experience is, I trust the universe and I give myself over to experiencing the universe, and in fact you are successful. You do have this. In terms of spirituality, we go to the north. the top middle rune, you have energy coming to you. Power is coming to you. You may not feel it yet. You may be just beginning to sense it, but it is on its way to you. Moving to the top right, you have Wunjo. You are or have been disappointed with your religious experience with the gods, not spiritual, not shamanic, not meditative necessarily, but directly to the gods. You have had some disappointment, and or they may be, reflecting back to you their disappointment. Again, it's all a projection anyway. They're not disappointed with you. Don't worry about it. But you have had that experience. The way to change that is to, I think, take a look at yourself and not have such high expectations on yourself. Be kinder to yourself. That way you can feel the joy of connecting to the gods, because that's what Wunjo is. Moving from there, you have a lot of emotion attached to connecting to spirituality. You invest a lot of emotion in your spirituality. That is your ego right there on the side there. That is your ego. That is your identity. That is good. Moving down below that, down to this rune right there. This is your subconscious mind. So when it comes to your rituals, probably, you don't have the power. You don't have the spiritual power. You may need to protect yourself. So you may need to do mantra. You may need to do a ritual. If you don't have that, go to astrology.thunderwizard.com. Go to astrology.thunderwizard.com and get an astrology reading from me or from one of my apprentices, and you will learn how to protect yourself in ritual, and you will know how to do the very specific ritual and mantra that is attuned just to you. You'll know which planet wants to work with you on the spiritual level, and you'll be given a specific ritual format for you based on your chart. This is really important. I mean, rituals work, and there are general rituals that will work for everybody. But for instance, if you have, let's say you want to do a ritual and it says that you need to be working with a Jupiter deity like Thor. Thor is a Jupiter deity. Then you would need to know where Jupiter is in your chart and what sign it's in. If Jupiter is in a Mars sign, it means that you need to do a fire ritual to get Jupiter or to get Thor's power. If Jupiter is in a Venus sign or a moon sign, which there's only one, which is Cancer, then it would mean that you have to take a libation. You have to give as an offering like some honey water or some milk to Jupiter and use that in ritual. That's what, and all these things have, these symbols have very powerful reactions to you on a unconscious level, on a psychological level. So I don't know what your such scenario is, whether that's what you need, if you've had a reading from me or not, but that's what's going on. Moving down to the south, in terms of spirituality, your actions, you feel stuck. And this is a good thing because you need to expand your horizons and do something different, think differently, act in this instance, do something different. You need to change what you're doing, expand it. You may be stuck and not know which direction to go. So asking yourself, what can I do differently? Show me where to go. Again, that's another thing for astrology readings. You can find out which planet, which deity you can talk to that will guide you to whatever deities or planets that you need to work with. That is in your chart as well. So, moving to the southwest, which is the underworld, your unconscious mind. Whatever's going on with spirituality for you, something has come to an end for you. You've either got a wrong assumption that's not working for you, or you're seeking to end maybe a belief system and move into another one, but things have come to an end, and on a deeply unconscious level, major changes are about to happen for you in terms of that. So, and I would, if I had you on the phone, I would find out, but I don't have time to get more specific than that. Going to the middle left, which is the west, in terms of how you give in spirituality. Either how you give to others or how you give to the universe. The universe is saying, whatever it is you've been doing, we're done with that. That's not going to work anymore. You got to find a new way to offer, to connect to the spiritual world. You've come to the karmic end, it's not working. Something new has to come, again, having to do with, again, that rune in the south, which has to do with action. You have to change. You have to ask yourself, what can I do differently? Going to the top left, the ancestors, on the other hand, are saying it's about relationship. You need to have, maybe they're saying you need to have a relationship, maybe a deeper relationship with the ancestors as opposed to the gods, a deeper relationship. Maybe it means being in relationship itself will be something that will help you on a spiritual level. But they're also saying that you've got a pretty good relationship with them. So it's probably not coming from the ancestral realm. Anyway, without talking to you on the phone, that's about as far as I can go. So that's my first free reading. I hope that was helpful for you. So here we go. I'm going to take a brief respite here. Again, if you're new to the channel, you just came on, the only way I want to interact with you once we get to the questions is to ask a question, and for that you write question and then ask your question. Okay? Other than that, I will ignore anything else you put on here other than questions, unless I specifically ask for information from you. So when we come back, we're going to do a quick reading for, let's see, who came in second here? It was Christina Escobedo. So Christina, I want you to be thinking about what your focus is, and we'll come back and do your reading when I come back. All right, so I'll be right back here. Okay, Christina Escobedo, we are going to do a reading for you now. So now what I'd like for you to do, just as I did with the other one, is you're going to take 3 deep breaths and exhale. Don't do it yet. Wait till I tell you. And we're going to shuffle the rune cards 3 times, and then we're going to put out the runes in the 9-world rune reading spread. And I will interpret it. I'll go a little bit more quickly this time, just so that we're not taking up too much time. I won't go into all of the details of everything, this, that, and the other. But in terms of what this world is, I will definitely focus on the meaning of the interpretation of what the reading says. I just won't. I'll assume you understand what each of the 9 worlds represents. Blah blah blah. All right, so Christina, do me a favor, take a deep breath and hold it, and we'll ask Odin for his power to guide us in this rune reading to answer your question. Exhale. Take another deep breath, and let's ask Vili for his power to show us what is going on in terms of your question. Exhale. Take another deep breath and hold it. And this time we will ask Ve, our spirit, to guide us to understand the question. I just got a huge hit. I don't know, whatever's coming through these, I'm getting all kinds of goosebumps. Something pretty powerful is coming for you. So now we're going to lay it out. And I'm going to lay it out in the 9-world rune fashion here. Again. Okay. So again, don't tell me what your focus is. Now what I'm going to do again is I'm going to take a break because I have to take a picture with it on my phone and upload it to my computer and then put it on this thing so you guys can see it. So I'll be back in a couple of minutes, and I will give you my interpretation of this reading. So hang on. Okay, sorry. Be patient with me. I'm having a little difficulty here with my equipment, but I will get it together. So just hang on a little bit longer. I'll be right back. Okay, so I think I can do the same thing I was doing before. All right, so as you can see, I'm having a little fight with my my software here. All right, so there we go. Let me fix that so we can all see it. Okay, so there is your rune reading, Cristina Escobedo. All right, so actually, let's try that again. There we go. Okay, so there's your rune reading. So I don't want to know what the focus, the question was yet. I'm just going to tell you what I see. So in the center is your conscious experience, and we have Yuhuaj, the tree of life and death. This means transformation, but it usually means transformation without your conscious approval. It feels involuntary. It feels like you are coming apart at the seams. That is your experience. So you could feel like you're going crazy. You could be having tremendous challenge, depending on what it is we're talking about. If we're talking about a person or a relationship, then we're talking about fighting. But it's transformative, and it feels like you're coming apart at the seams, whatever we're talking about. That is your conscious experience. Moving to the middle top card, this is the card of your intuitive mind, and this means that what is coming to you is going to be grounding, being grounded, being at home, being empowered. The more that you tell me what it is when I ask, then I'll know. I don't want to know just yet, but Othal means inheritance. It means home, means earth, means grounded. It could mean all those other things depending on what we're talking about, but generally speaking, it means to be grounded. Moving to the top right, we have Wunjo, not reversed this time. Wunjo is there, which means that your spiritual connection with the gods, which is your hopes, your aspirations, your dreams, your religious zeal, whatever it is that propels you forward, that inspires you, you have a lot of joy connected to this, and this is good. Moving to the middle right, which is the eastern direction, here we have Yggdrasil, which is your identity, your ego. So in terms of your ego, whatever we're talking about, you just need to be patient because you're consolidating your energy. You're figuring out who you are. You haven't figured it out yet, but it's coming to you. Just be patient. You're trying to work out, who am I in this situation? Down in the bottom right, we have Kenaj reversed, which means confusion. And this is in the dwarf home, which is the realm of your subconscious mind, your ability to intend your reality. And here you have confusion. You either don't know what to intend or you don't know how to intend it. You're confused. Moving to the bottom middle card in the south, this is the realm of action. This is Elchaj reversed, which means in terms of your actions, you lack power. You lack protective energy, life force energy. You may physically feel tired when you're trying to accomplish whatever it is we're talking about. And so meditation, of course, because Kenaj in the southeast there, that the southeast is the home of meditation, especially life force energy meditation like Qigong or deep breathing, where you take life force energy and then you connect it to your intention. And so you need energy for this. So this is your action to, going out and doing yoga, doing Qigong, doing any kind of breathing to get yourself power. When it comes to physical, again, get rid of all things like intoxicants and coffee and cigarettes and, alcohol and marijuana and stuff like that, which drain you of energy because you need it. Because it's keeping you from taking action. I don't know if you do or not. It's none of my business. I don't care. But whatever it is, you either need to get energy or you need to find out what is draining you of energy because your actions are suffering. Moving to the southwest, this is good. You have quite possibly the best rune here for the unconscious mind, which is in the southwest, the underworld. You have Tiwaj, the rune of highest awareness. This is the Tiu, the god of the sky. His original name, his name Tiu means sky. And in other traditions, his name Tiu Pater, Jupiter. Dieus Pita in the East Indian. It means literally sky father. So whenever you hear supposedly Native American shamans or any shamanic tradition or any animist tradition, and they talk about praying to the sky father, we have it in our tradition as well. His name was Tiu Pater, Tiu Father, Tiu, Tiwaj. So here you have the highest awareness in your unconscious mind, which means that you are aware. You know what the problem is. You've been working very hard to figure out what the problem is. Now we just need to put that awareness into action. That's where it's missing. Moving on to the west. This is the middle left. This is the realm of the Vanir, and this is your empathic mind, how you are giving to others. If the east is your identity, your ego, which is Ingvaj, you're trying to build up the strength to figure out who you are. In the west, how you give to others is through your soul. So that's working. In terms of how you give to others, spiritually, it is working. Your soul is empowering itself to give, to relate to others. Going up to the top left, we have the realm of the ancestors, the elves, the ascended masters. This is your higher self. And here, power is being given to you. This means that the elves themselves, the ancestors, are giving power to you in whatever it is we're talking about. But whatever it is that we're talking about, power is coming to you from the ancestral realm. I'll know more when you tell me what it is. So, tell me what your focus was. I know that there's a little bit of a lag time here, so give me what your focus was, and I'll be able to tell you. So again, what did I say earlier? There's a new website on its way, and now I'm going to stick with this one. I'm not going to change it. runereadingcertification.thunderwizard.com. It's not up yet. Friday the 20th of July 2018. It will be up by Sunday, I promise you that. And then you can have access to all of my video teachings, both that you have to pay for and that you can get for free, and some new teachings. And for those that pass the certification, you can be a certified Thunder Wizard 9-world rune reading, and you can do this exact reading that I'm doing right here. And you can get paid for it. You can also, if you don't want to get certified and use my name and my website, you can just take that information and go create your own rune reading business if you want. I don't care. I only want to certify those who want to use my name and the Thunder Wizard website. Okay, so let's go back here. I'm waiting for Christina. What's her name? Christina something. Where did you go? Christina Escobedo. I want to know what your focus was. So I'll give you a few more seconds. I know there's a lag time, and if not, then I'll just go into the questions because there are some people with questions. So let's give it another 20 seconds. 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, Christina, maybe she's no longer on the live Q&A, in which case, unfortunately, I don't know what the focus of her question was. But that's an interesting thing here, so I will answer the questions. So I got to scroll all the way back up. There was a question. Nathan Johnson asked a question. And, all right, let me get this off the screen here since Christina seems to have evaporated. All right, so Nathan Johnson, his question is, from what I see, I sigh whenever there's a sentence ahead of time before the question, because I don't know what I'm going to get into here. From what I see, there is a shift where people are leaving religion for the ancestral paths. All right, so that is an assumption, and I tend to agree with that. So in this case, I will accept your assumption. What is your vision for the world and people coming back to the old ways? What is my personal vision? Like, what do I want? Well, for that, you can read all of my books. You can go to michaelwilliamdenny.com and read all of my books, especially the Thunder Wizard Path. That will tell you what I believe. Very briefly, let me say this. In terms of what you just said, which was that you see that there is a wave of people leaving religion and going to the ancestral path. I'm going to give you an explanation, I think, that explains that. So because I am a syncretist, my main focus is in the Indo-European tradition. And the Indo-European traditions are the majority of the people in Europe, not all of them, but the majority of the cultures and languages in Northern Europe, as well as in other places in the Middle East and in the Near East, in Asia. The Vedic tradition is the Hindu Vedic tradition is the oldest and only remaining Indo-European tradition that has an unbroken connection all the way back into prehistory. And so I give them a lot of credence. As it turns out, when you look at the Northern European tradition connected to them, you see a lot of interconnections, and they reflect back and empower each other. And so this is one of the things that I do. So in that tradition, they have this belief about yugas, which means time periods or eons. And there are differing theories on what they mean, but the one that makes the most sense to me, again, I look at practical application. Can I take it and practically apply it? If so, then I use it. If not, then it's worthless. But this understanding that yugas happen every 25,000 years, I believe, we just came out of the Kali Yuga. And the way this works is that according to them, there is a galactic center where at the center of our galaxy, I believe, there is the greatest concentration of spiritual power. You can call it the soul of the galaxy if you want, the soul of the universe. And our solar system, or our galaxy if you want to call it the universe, revolves around it in an elliptical fashion. And when we are closest to this galactic center, then people are 100% connected to the spirit. They can communicate without words. They don't need technology. They can do all kinds of things that we would consider to be magic. They're fully connected. All of the brain, the chambers of the brain, and all of the glands of the body are completely in sync. This is the golden age, the golden yuga. Kali Yuga is the age of darkness, which means that's the furthest away from the galactic center. That, as it so happened, it just so happens, if you do the math, that started right at the beginning of the end of the imperial age of Rome and the beginning of the Christian era. The Christian era started with the Piscean age. The Piscean age is symbolized by the fish. That's why we call it the age of Pisces, the age of the fish. The middle of the Piscean age was the Middle Ages. And the Middle Ages, as you know, was the worst time religiously, scientifically, spiritually. I mean, there were diseases everywhere. You had the elites and you had everybody else living in their own filth, literally. You had slaves and masters. And this was when Christianity was at its most powerful. This was the age of darkness. And so we were furthest away, and we were at the apex, furthest away from the galactic center. Now we've moved past that, and we're in what's called Dvapara Yuga, which means the age of half and half. And that is why we have such a split down the middle politically. In fact, whichever side of the aisle you're on, whatever you say is worst about the politics, we would say in this particular aspect, we would say that's because we're coming to the end, the end of Kali Yuga, which is still vibrating into our time period. Just like when you come out of, let's say, you come out of fall and you're entering winter. Winter doesn't hit all at once. It kind of comes in waves. So, and you get a little bit of fall, or like if you're coming into the spring, you get a little bit of winter still comes in every now and then. We're still getting waves of the Piscean age, even though we're in the Aquarian age. We're just entering the Aquarian age. We're getting waves of it. It's the last gasp of Kali Yuga as it goes out of manifestation. So if you look at it in terms of the ellipsis, if the center, if this is the outer, if this is Kali Yuga and this is the galactic center, and we've come past this and we're now lining up here, it means we're lining up with exactly what was going on before the age of Christianity, which was polytheism, the age of our ancestors worshiping all of the gods. So that's what's happening. We've come around the end of Kali Yuga and we're lining up with this. So we're feeling the reflection. It's like time isn't static. You can actually look back into time. It's called light. When you look back to the Big Bang through further in the distance, you're actually looking back farther in time. So as that time period we're coming up against it, we are feeling the effects of the time period of when we used to worship the gods of our ancestors, and that's why people like myself are having visions and having dreams where the gods talk to them, because now we've got a direct line. But now what is happening, and I think this Thunder Wizard path is a good reflection, is that we are going to the next level, because we're moving, instead of they were moving away from the galactic center, we are moving toward the galactic center, which means we're going to take that knowledge that they had of worshiping all of the gods of the ancestors, and we're going to have a evolution. It'll move to the next level, which is why in my path, I'm pulling together syncretic spiritual sciences that agree with one another and creating a larger whole. If we talk about what the Hopi said, the Hopis believed that human beings, and I'm extrapolating here, in East Africa, before they moved over into all the rest of the world, they split up into 4 tribes, which ended up being the 4 major races. They had to learn the 4 elements. And the idea was that after we had learned, the white race learned fire, the black race learned water, the Asian race learned ether, and the Native Americans learned earth. They mastered the wisdom of those elements, and this is the time when we were supposed to come together and bring all of this knowledge together, and then we would evolve to the next level. Unfortunately, especially the white race, we dropped the ball big time. And so instead of us coming together, we did all kinds of other things, which has potentially screwed things up. But this is where we're heading, which means that more people like me are going to start creating syncretic paths that when they work, the sum of the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So that was an interesting question, and that is my answer to your question, Nathan. Moving on, looking for the questions again, so I gotta go now, scroll down. Let's see here. Again, I'm only really interested in your questions, not your comments. And if you don't put question, I can't see it, and I won't respond. So, Corey Lanier, question: how do you know if you receive information from an elf or another entity? The elves are only interested in helping you evolve. The elves are very non-invasive. So if you get this intense, some being appears to you with flame and fire and gives you this really intense message, that's not enough. I don't know what it is, but it's not enough. The way you know the elves are talking to you is you get this, you can feel it. There's a very kind presence about it. It's like you're with your grandparent that you love, who will always sit you down and tell you something really wonderful that will help you and say, you know what I learned? And they'll give you some kind of information. They're not going to yell in your ear, so it's probably more like an intuitive connection that you feel, and that there's always this healing sense to it. The easiest way is just to face northwest and just ask, what do I need to do? If you have a certain problem, say, how should I deal with this problem? And if you sit and breathe and meditate facing the northwest, especially asking to see how you can best benefit and how your actions affect others, you will start to see, you'll start to get this calm feeling of, yeah, you know, I realize that when I do this, that's harmful to other people. And if I want to change that, I should do this, and they'll appreciate that more. And then you start feeling good, and you get this like happy feeling. Even if it's a difficult thing, like if it's something that you would normally feel guilty about, you might go, yeah, that's kind of that's painful, and I don't like that, but I can get through it, and I can see how doing this and this would be helpful. That's how the elves communicate. RMS 1754 question, is it crucial to pronounce the rune name precisely in order to connect to that particular rune energy during meditation? It's not crucial, but it's a good idea. If you want to learn how to pronounce the runes, watch my videos. Go on to thunderwizard.com. I can't see it now. Let me see. Thunderwizard.com and sign up there at the $25 level, and you can go through all of the runes. I tell you how to pronounce them. In my opinion anyway. And you can also wait for the end of this weekend, and you can go to, what did I say? I said it was going to be runereadingcertification.thunderwizard.com, which is not up yet today, the 20th, but will be up by the 22nd this weekend. So if you're watching this after it's been recorded, it's probably up. And then you can study all of the video teachings that I have in my path, which is at least, with all the new stuff and the certification, we're talking, you know, excess of $500 worth of stuff there. So let's see here. Going back to the questions, sorry, I've been scrolling up and down, so give me a second here to find the questions. Rintra's Roar question. We have 24 runes. Would you assign them, in this case 2 of them, to each one of the 12 astrological signs? No, I personally would not. That doesn't mean that that isn't valuable. I think somebody introduced that idea to me, and I started going down that path, and it was really powerful. So I think somebody, yeah. Anyway, to answer your question, I need to look at that. Somebody introduced something like that to me, and when I started messing with it, it was incredibly powerful, and I just haven't had the time to follow up on it. So that's another level of rune interpretation, which is very exciting to me. But to answer your question, if I don't have the answer, I don't have the answer, and I don't have the answer to your question today. Daggers question, what does the Shaddai symbol stand for, and where does it originate? I have no idea. Are we talking about some kind of either Western magical sign or some kind of Hebrew sign? If so, not only do I not have any knowledge of it, I have no interest in it. I have a strong aversion to anything having to do with the biblical tradition. This is the main reason I don't do Western magic, is because a lot of Western magic uses that, and I personally have an aversion to, any word that's in Hebrew, only because I had such a bad experience in Christianity. So I don't know what the Shaddai symbol is, and so if I don't have the answer, I don't have the answer. Christy Williams question, last month you did a Vedic reading for me and assigned a mantra. I find myself singing the mantra. Didn't you ask me this? Somebody asked me this almost exact question. Was this you? Last month you get blah, blah, blah. I find myself singing the mantra with varying tones. Should I be speaking the mantra instead? No, go ahead and sing it. If you can find it, there are some mantras that will have a specific tune to it. It's just like, there's one guy who reads the Norse myths in a specific meter. And it's really beautiful, and I think that is the tradition. That's how you memorized it. Before writing, you didn't memorize the writing, you memorized the singing of it. And so to give you an example, there's one of the oldest. It's from the Rig Veda, I believe. It's from one of the Vedas. It's called the Triambakam mantra, and it's a mantra to Shiva. And there's a tune to it, and this is how I chant it. And the tune is Triambakam yajammahe sugantim pushtivardhanam urvarukamiva bandhanan mrityormukshya mamritat. So when you and let's see, I'll give you another one. This is one again from the Vedas, and this is to the waters, which is used for the moon. Apyayasva sametute vishvata somavrishniyam bhavava jasya sangate. When you do it like that, there's the changing of the rhythm and the tones and all that is in there. That was how these things were originally done. This is how the Druids were able to remember stories, because they sang them. This is how our ancestors remembered the mythology before they were written down. They sang them, and there was a specific meter, you know. This is why Shakespeare is so amazing, especially when it's done in the original, which is when you use a Southern accent from the colonies, which was when Shakespeare was alive in the 1500s. People didn't speak like they do now. This is a big thing. You know, this happened in the 1600s, which is why Americans speak so differently from both anybody that's in any other part. You know, and Canadians, very similar to Americans, although a little different, but Americans speak the way the English spoke. The various American dialects, that's how the English spoke back in 15 whatever. Because starting in the 1600s, it became, I think, because they were trying to differentiate themselves from the colonies, they started getting rid of all of the R's. And so as you go through, and the way you can hear this is if you listen to Australians. Australians sound very similar to Cockney, but it's a very different accent. And if you put some Southern hillbilly, some guy that talks like this here, and you put him in next to an Australian guy, you listen to the Southern guy, the Australian guy, and to the Cockney guy, you will hear the arc of the change of the lack of the R. When you take the R sound out, and you soften it, that's what ends up happening. And this happened in the 1600s. And so talking like this here, the reason why it sounds so superficial and forced is because it was. They were trying to get out of their dialect the colonial dialect so that they could feel superior. That's why there's such a big difference. When you hear people from the South do Shakespeare, they don't need to try and do it in iambic pentameter because they already speak in iambic pentameter. Let's see. To be or not to be? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing end them. To dream, to sleep. And by asleep, we say, he doesn't sound like he's trying to do iambic pentameter. That's how they speak. That is how our English ancestors spoke. So those of you from, other parts of the English-speaking world, I know you're pulling your hair up, but that's the truth. The oldest English colonies are in America, and that's how you know. If you want to listen to how they spoke, listen to the different American dialects, and you'll hear the different parts of the British, the UK, how they spoke, because we still have it in a lot of our thinking. So anyway, that was a very serious diversion from the subject, but it was something fun I wanted to talk about. All right, so Sean, I don't know what you're doing, but if you're asking a question, you have to ask a question. Otherwise, I don't know. So unfortunately, I'm not going to read that because I don't know if you're actually asking me a question or not. Question. Had to put question in comments because it's not allowing me to send through chat. So I don't know what you're telling me. Did you ask me a question, Christina Escobedo. All right, so I'm interested to know, let's see, where are you? So yeah, I'm not seeing your question. If you're asking me the question so that I can look at your rune reading again, you have to actually tell me what your focus was, because I'm not seeing it. Okay. Christy Williams says I never replied. I probably did reply. I probably just didn't reply the way you wanted me to, but maybe I did. Now you have my answer. Maclovia Padilla, question. My 9-year-old Lucian soul who has been doing the celestial Qigong wants his heroes on his bedroom wall. You, Lokia, and Sethicus are who he wants permission to have as posters on his wall. You have my permission. That he's picking up on the traditional way of working with teachers, and it has been abused. I'm not going to abuse it because I know I'm just a human being. But as a teacher, I am the symbol for your unconscious mind and your higher self to connect with the gods and the ancestors. So that's why in India you have people putting pictures of their guru onto their altar, because by looking at that and doing their their rituals and their prayers and all that, what they're really doing is they're connecting to the ancestral teachers that are working through that teacher. So yes, you have my permission to do that, and that means he will experience connecting to my ancestral guides that are guiding me and teaching me, and it will be an unconscious symbol for him. So it's a very powerful thing to do. Yes, you have my permission. Oh, it's in the comments. Well, I can't get to the comments right now, so I'm sorry. Sorry, Christina. I don't know why that's... you're writing it now, so why can't you write now? If you're writing, yes, it's in the comments, it won't post in chat. Why can't you just type in what the focus was? You're able to type other things in, so I'm quite confused. Yeah, Maclovia, again, he's tapping into the traditional way. It's extremely powerful. It's not weird at all. It's been misused, but I will never. Yeah, I can't see the comments from here because I'm in the middle of the live thing. So if it's the comments on the video, it's going to come up later. So just put it in a sentence, Christina. I'm talking to Christina now. Okay, Maclovia, tell him he's very welcome. And I'm honored. I am honored to be a symbol of his teaching. He's doing me a privilege as well. So thank him from me as well for giving me that honor. And I take it very seriously. Okay, so that's it for the questions. I'm going to take a break. We'll come back. And if you have any more questions, now's the time to ask them. You can ask me questions about whatever you'd like, and I will answer it for you. So, be right back. righty, so let me see if Christina Escobedo was able to tell me what was going on here. So, okay, so she says, my question I was trying to get to was to find out how I can remember my multidimensional self. I know things and have seen things, but would love to know if I'm blocking anything and so forth from just knowing. Makes me want to address that because, again, there's an assumption there. But I'll just take it at face value. So, again, looking at your, let's see, where did I put that? Looking at your reading again, let's take a look here. Which one is it? Is it this one? I believe it's this one, yeah. So in terms of remembering, first I think you may have some assumptions there. First, I would get rid of, this is just me as a teacher talking, I would get rid of your assumptions that you know what that means. So get rid of that idea, and there's a need in there that bothers me. The desire to remember your multidimensional self, it seems to contain a fear or an intensity or, a need that, that I'm not enough as I am right now. And if I can remember all of my dimensional self, then it'll all be okay and I'll be able to do this and do that. And I would like for you, if that's the case, to let go of that. You're perfectly fine just the way you are. And learning to accept yourself and accept the power as it is right now is extremely important. So, again, I would need to talk to you more. Like if we were on the phone, I would be able to find out if you had some assumptions that were based in fear or need. But I don't know that because I'm not talking to you, so I'm just going off of what I'm getting here. So, in terms of remembering your multidimensional self, you are in conflict with yourself. That's the center rune. You're in conflict about it. And there's a lot of pain and a lot of, but you're on the verge of something. You're on the verge of evolving to something. So, maybe you will. The rune in the north says you're going to be grounded. So I would say, again, just kind of be comfortable where you are. Stop trying so hard. Stop trying to impose this and be comfortable and grounded. It's coming to you. The gods are perfectly happy with you. There's joy there. You are trying to, as you said, trying to remember your multidimensional self, so you need to be patient. That's what the Yggdrassil rune says. Be patient with yourself. You're confused. Your need to figure this out is creating confusion in the southeast, which is your inability to manifest. So there's an assumption on your part that I can't manifest until I know my true multidimensional self, which isn't true. You're perfectly capable. You don't need to remember your multidimensional self. You already are your multidimensional self. So you don't need to figure it out. You're okay as you are. That confusion. Confusion represents a lack of commitment. That's not the word I want to use. A lack of, let's see. Sorry, I'm trying to remember the word. It's not commitment, but it's it'll come to me. So confusion is when you know what you're supposed to do, you're just not doing it. So you're trying too hard, which is making you confused, and so you're not able to really commit to what it is that you want to intend. So stop trying so hard and just go. I know what it is that I want, and stop trying to confuse yourself. And the south there, this is draining you of energy. Your need to figure out and remember your multidimensional self, because again, the assumption is you're not enough the way you are, and until you get to your multidimensional self, you won't be good enough. And this is draining you of energy. So get back and just be comfortable where you are. Breathe and meditate and just be. Then you'll be able to take the actions, and your actions will have power behind them. Unconsciously, you know. So you think you don't know, but you do. So the Southwest says you already know you're not your multidimensional self. You just are indulging in the idea that you don't. So whatever self-defeating things that you've been doing, mindsets that you've had, you get a rush off of feeling like you don't remember your multidimensional self. So you don't have to intellectually know it. You might be intellectually trying to figure it out, remembering up here. So remember, your intellect doesn't know shit from Shinola anyway when it comes to multi-dimensions. It only knows about this dimension here. So trying to remember it up here isn't going to help you. Spiritually, you're already giving. You already give to the universe. You give to others from your multidimensional self. It's already there. The ancestors in the Northwest are giving you power. You have the power. So you may be trying to sabotage your own power by overthinking this and telling yourself you don't remember your multidimensional self. I need to remember my multidimensional self and I can't. It's an illusion. You have it, it's already there, and just let it be. Be good to yourself, be kind to yourself, meditate, be in the moment, empower yourself, and get rid of fear and need, or become aware of it and work through it. You know, if you become aware, yeah, I've been afraid. Yeah, I don't feel like I'm enough. Yeah, all that. Then having those feelings and acknowledging that and staying relaxed, the power will come to you. That's my view on that. Again, it could be, it's my reaction to the question. I have that reaction to whenever I hear something that sounds like it's coming from fear or need or doubt. I have that reaction. I want to fight it. I want to beat that out of people. That's just the warrior in me. So if I was too direct or too harsh, please don't hold it against me. That's my way, and it is perhaps my failing. All right, so Sean, question. Do you think that the lower spiritual forces at work in the universe spreading disinformation about our nature are necessary for us to have the experience of reunion and growth? I don't know. What's the point of that question? That's like a yes or no question, which is that your feeling? Are you trying to get me to either accept or deny your statement of feeling that that's what you think? That's kind of an intellectual question. I mean, I guess there's nothing wrong with it, but it's kind of an intellectual question because it takes you out of interacting with that. It makes you kind of go, well, yes, that's the way things are because that was for us to grow. And so, yeah, there are forces trying to force us out of our higher awareness and deceive us. And that's kind of okay. Smoke a lot of weed. That's the kind of thing potheads will talk about ad nauseum and take no action on it. I am saying in that, and by the way, I am on the verge. I'm in the process. It's still coming to me. I got this huge revelation. I talked about it in the last video. But I'm going to be sharing with you, you can call it a revelation, you can call it a transmission, you can call it a channeling, you can call it a story, you can call it fiction, you can call it mythology. I don't care how you want to call it. But I'm going to be sharing with you, and this may turn into multiple, like a huge book series about what I'm talking about. Because the modern the modern hip thing to do now is it doesn't matter which side of the spectrum you're on. If you're on the full-on hardcore fundamentalist born-again Christian Republican right-wing InfoWars side, you are going to tell me that there is a deep state conspiracy, and you're going to tell me all these conspiracies. Even so much, you're going to tell me about how liberal politicians are eating children underground. You'll have that conspiracy going, and all different shades of different conspiracies in that way. If you're completely on the left, and you're somebody that goes around setting off bombs at universities and all that kind of thing. What do they call those people? The chaos. I forget. The anarchists. right? You have the fascists on the right and you have the anarchists on the left. And if you're an anarchist, you're going to talk about how 9/11 was a conspiracy and the conspiracy of the deep state to create this false wars and blah, blah, blah for oil. I don't care which side of the spectrum you're on. Those, and on the spiritual side, there's a belief that we live in a matrix and that there are beings of light who keep us trapped, and that you should not go to the beings of light, and you should not seek to go to the light when you die. Don't go to the light, because then you will be reincarnated and you're living in a farm and they're sucking the life out of you. These conspiracy theories and the need to believe in conspiracies is actually a conspiracy itself. And those that create these false conspiracies are doing so to keep you from being able to see the truth. And this is that the truth is that you yourself are infinite, that you yourself are God. You yourself are that being of light that has created everything. That you have chosen your existences all throughout time, and that in order to evolve, you must choose to take the most fearless path towards what gives you joy. And the reptilian conspiracy is real. It may not be what you think it is, but it is very real. And that conspiracy has been programmed into your reptilian brain. And your reptilian brain, when you are programmed by your reptilian brain, you are programmed to believe false conspiracies which keep you trapped in fear, which keep you from evolving. And that will force you to have multiple lifetimes. So if what you want to do is stop your reincarnation, stop lifetimes, then you have to know what the true Naga conspiracy is. And the way this, now some of you may be thinking, I know exactly what he's talking about because I can see it in the political realm. And both sides are going to be saying this. Both sides, whether it's right or left, are going to be saying, I know exactly what he's talking about. And so in order to not stimulate you and push you into your fear zones, I'm not going to give political examples. But I will say this, it has to do with projection. So I'd like for you to study what is called psychological projection. Because the way you know that somebody is operating from the reptilian conspiracy is that they themselves will either be unknowingly operating from psychological projection, unconsciously, or they will consciously be creating psychological projection. So I'm going to give you an example of that. This has to do with infidelity. So let's say, this is an example, I'm not talking about anybody. This is an example. Let's say, for example, you're in a relationship and you are cheating on your partner. You're having sex with other people. Now, if you are an unconscious psychological projector, you will feel guilty about that, and you will be struggling with the guilt, but you will want to continue to do it, and you won't want to get caught. But you will be paranoid that you're going to get caught. And then the way that becomes unconsciously projected is that you will become paranoid that your partner is cheating on you. And you will be constantly harassing them and accusing them of cheating on you. You will be checking their phone. You will be hacking into their email because you are absolutely convinced that they're cheating on you. your girlfriend works at the local pub and she's a waitress there, and you saw her laughing and talking to one of the customers, and she kneeled down and she smiled and patted him and walked away, and you are sure that that's her new boyfriend, and you go and you beat the crap out of him, and then you take her home and you grill her over this, that, the other thing, all the while you are having sex on the side. That is an unconscious projector. A conscious psychological projector, and I'm just making up these terms right now. A conscious one is somebody who's the same scenario, is cheating on their partner but doesn't want to get caught, knows their partner is totally devoted and isn't cheating, and so what they're going to do is this: they're going to create a false feeling of fear and guilt in them by very craftily trying to point out to them that they've been cheating. And, you know, I saw you looking at that guy, and you'll do it in a much more crafty way so that the person will actually feel guilty about every interaction they have with another person. And they will be trying to make sure that they never do anything to upset you. This is conscious projection. And I'm telling you, this is going on. And this is going on at every level of existence. And again, I don't want to get specific, because if I do and I reveal to you, and my job is to use this mythology that I'm going to start sharing with you. So if you adopt this, you can actually find the truth without me or somebody telling you what the unconscious or the conscious projection is, what the true conspiracy is to deceive you. So you can look at it from this perspective, that the universe, there are factions in the universe that have a conspiracy, a conscious conspiracy, to keep you trapped in fear so that you will keep reincarnating. And I can tell you one of the lies is, don't go into the light. That is a lie. You should go into the light. The light is you. By telling you not to go into the light, the reptilian conspiracy is keeping you from connecting to your deepest joy, your deepest soul desire. And I'll shut up with this. In order to end your lives, reincarnating, the way to end it is to have all of your deepest desires fulfilled. And you cannot do that if you are in fear. Because if you are in fear, the very thing that gives you joy, you will be afraid to do. And you have been told not to do it. That's as far as I'll take it today. All right, so that's it. Do I hear any questions? Let me see. Christina was going to explain further something, blah, blah, blah. She says, I'm sorry, I would like to know, but I do accept myself completely, but I do get what you're saying completely. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I get it. Oh my God, thank you, Mike. All right, so you're welcome. Again, it helped. This is what having a personal, actually, I'm going to put down this one. runereadings.thunderwizard.com. with no space. When you go there, then I can talk to you on the phone, and then I can have, I don't have to guess so much, and then I have a good idea of what it is that you're actually, where your question is coming from. One of the things that I do, one of the things that may be challenging is that people ask questions, and sometimes I don't answer their questions directly because I hear in their question an unconscious fear, or I hear them lying to themselves, or I hear them evading the real question, or I hear them trying to, manipulate me into sort of co-signing something. So when any of those things happen, I disregard the question and I go straight at what I hear, what they're saying. Sometimes that's challenging for people, but that's my job. That's what I'm here to do. I have Jupiter in the 8th house retrograde, which means my wisdom goes deep underground and wants to get to the heart of what it is that you really want to know. Heart of the wisdom, heart of the question. All right, so that's it for me today. Again, keep your eyes out for What is it that I said? Now I have to remember it. I'm going to write it down in 2 places so I remember it. What is it that I said? Rune reading certification.thunderwizard.com. So let me write it down here. Rune reading certification. I probably should have created a smaller name, but oh well, it's too late. Rune reading certification.thunderwizard.com. Go there on Sunday. Today is the 20th. Friday, go to Sunday the 22nd. And you can learn all of my rune teachings and even some new teachings that I haven't taught yet. And you'll have access to all of my rune videos, both paid and free. And you can get certified to do the same rune readings that I do. If you want a rune reading from me, you can go to runereadings.thunderwizard.com, which is up here somewhere. And there's that. All right, so I don't see any more questions. I'm starving, so I'm going to go eat. Oh, so Eric Schumannzeller, oh, you did do that. All right, he has a question. I've answered this question multiple times. So it makes me think, makes me wonder, Eric, if you have worked with me privately and if you do the energy. Actually, I'm curious now. I want you to answer that. Have you worked with me personally, yes or no? And do you do any of the energy practices that I teach, either on the free channel or on the Celestial Qigong? So, Eric, answer that question for me and I'll answer your question. Okay? Have you worked with me? Have you read my books is another question. And have you done any of the energy teachings that I teach? All right, so I'll give him I'll give him like 10 seconds. There he is. No. See, how did I know that? So you're one of those people, I'm not judging you. You have done Celestial Qigong, yes? That is a yes, you have done Celestial Qigong? Answer me that question. Yes or no to Celestial Qigong? You have done it? Okay, before I answer, I have to know that answer that question. Okay, I'm wasting time here waiting, so I'm going to go ahead and answer your question for you. I talk about this a lot. Masturbation, yes, you have. Masturbation does not leak out energy. In fact, if we're talking about releasing sexual fluids and thinking that you're losing energy by doing that, the only way that that can happen is if you are actually having sex with another person. And that is only happening when you don't have a conscious connection with that person. If you have a dysfunctional relationship, or either your partner or you are not fully committed, and I don't mean that necessarily married or whatever, but you know, in that moment you're not giving freely, or one of you is not giving freely, or there's fear, then that can create, it doesn't always, but it can create a scenario where somebody will leak energy. So this teaching that's out there, you know, is part of, I would put that in what I said earlier, the conspiracy to keep you in fear. And that, sorry, I'm getting distracted because Maclovia is asking me a question, which I will get to. And again, write questions so that I see your question. So no, the answer is no. It doesn't leak out energy. And, you know, this goes along with the MGTOWs. You know, the MGTOWs who say that women steal your energy. Now, let me be clear. I've been with women who have stolen my energy. And I've been with women sexually who have stolen my energy. So it does happen. But it can only happen if you yourself are broken. If you yourself have fear or all the other stuff that I point fingers at, then you will be attracted to somebody who, a predator who will want to steal your energy. So you don't have to worry about that. Now, if you're doing celestial qigong and you self-stimulate, I wouldn't worry about it. Having said that, there is nothing wrong with being celibate. But please don't get crazy about it. And do not do any self-stimulation. In other words, there are people who will stimulate themselves sexually and then they will try and stop. They'll bring themselves right to the brink of climax and then they'll stop, and they think that somehow they're empowering themselves, and it's the biggest nonsense. What you do when you're stimulated to that degree, you have to release. Otherwise, you heat up and you keep in your body all of these really hot fluids that burn you up mentally and energetically, and then those fluids then sit there and rot in your body. It's really, very quite destructive. So if you want to be celibate, go ahead and be celibate, but don't stimulate yourself. Don't, look at stimulating imagery. Don't stimulate yourself. Having said that, if you're trying to avoid that and you become, stimulated and you have to release, then release. Just be natural and human about it. Having said that, celestial qigong will empower you whether you are releasing or not. Okay? So, in other words, don't make a big deal out of it, and definitely get out of your mind the idea that either sex or self-stimulation leaks energy. The people who feel this, there are people who go through this, and they will feel bad. They'll feel afterwards like they've lost energy. That is purely a mind game you're playing on yourself because you feel guilty. You have some kind of sexual hang-up. You've been brought up in some Christian home, and sex is bad, and masturbation is a sin. And so whenever people have a sexual release, they feel sinful. That is all that's happening. That feeling of I've lost energy, and then you get depressed, that is just psychological self-flagellation. You're beating yourself up for that, and it has nothing to do with your energy. If you're comfortable with it and you're comfortable with your sexuality and you're comfortable with yourself, it's not going to lose energy. There is a way to gain more energy by being celibate, but you've got to get all of the guilt and all of the other stuff out of it. Otherwise, that will confuse things. Okay, so he says thank you, so I must have answered his question. All right, so I don't see any more questions here, so I am hungry. I am going to... Let me see. No, Maclovia had a question. She didn't. Let me see. No, maybe it's not a question. No, it is. You're asking me, my 4-year-old gets in the celestial when we do it, meaning the celestial qigong. Is that good? Okay. I think you're asking me, is that good? Yes, that's great. That's excellent. I'm really interested, at 4 years old, I'm really interested to see what that does to his brain development. Maybe that will be helpful. My teacher actually has an autistic daughter, and he did this whole thing with nutrition and all that. And apparently, her mind development was significantly more than the average because of the things he did. And I'd be interested to see if celestial qigong helps with that. So, okay, Rosal von Royen is asking a question! Exclamation point. Let me type. It's a bad sign when your question is so big that you have to type it out, which means, we'll see, I could be wrong, but usually what that means is that somebody has an overly intellectualized question and they have assumptions that they want to force feed me so that I go down some path they want to go down. So we'll see. I'll be interested. So again, you're typing. It's been a while now. It's a huge question. A real question is only a sentence long. Here we go. Rosu van Royen, so this is your question. What can be done when, in practicing celibacy, sensation becomes very sensitive? How can this be negating? Who said, I didn't say that. Where did I say that? Okay, negated. How can your sensitivity be negated? Why are you asking me that question? You're saying you get turned on really easily, and this is part of it. I don't think you're out of balance if this is a problem for you. So if you're practicing celibacy and it's making you uncomfortable in this way, and you're asking me how to reduce the sensitivity of your extremities, you're out of balance. You need to get back into balance. It could be that you're unconsciously thinking about sex and obsessed about sex unconsciously, and so you're feeling that in, your nerves are feeling too sensitive. But that's because unconsciously you're wanting to relieve yourself of that. I mean, when I listen to your question, my feeling is that you're practicing celibacy for the wrong reasons. My feeling is that you're doing it out of fear or out of a need to do the right thing, or you've read a bunch of stuff, or you may have old childhood issues or old religious issues. And my suggestion for you is just be a normal person. I don't know why you're practicing celibacy, but I don't think there's something else. There's something going on under the surface because, for instance, if you do, let's say you become celibate and you do celestial qigong. And you're doing celestial qigong for an hour a day or 2 hours a day, which is a lot. What's going to happen is the energy will start to, by itself, instead of wanting to flow out, it'll start to want to flow up. And what will happen is that you will have less of a desire to release sexually. If you're practicing some kind of technique, whether it be energetic or spiritual, and you are really stimulated sexually, you're doing something wrong. Meaning that technique either doesn't have any power or you are playing a bunch of games with yourself unconsciously. And you should just forget about celibacy and just be human. The only way that I recommend celibacy is if there is no issue involved and it's very easy and it happens naturally and you don't, prevent yourself from releasing when it becomes unbearable. That's the only kind of celibacy that I recommend. So, having said that, I don't know you. I think you should just stop trying. The sensitivity is saying either you're unconsciously, trying to get yourself stimulated, or you've got some other issues going on. It's not a good sign. You need to have a teacher. Torn Legorf, question about runes and the practice of seeds. As a young man, I placed a circle of runes and felt a force pushing my hand. Regret not writing the runes. What to do to get that back? I don't know. I don't know who you were working with. I would say go back and do that again. Maybe you don't need to get it back. Maybe the force pushing your hand was your own unconscious. So maybe you've become more conscious now and you're not trying to, this is like people say about Ouija boards. It's pretty clear that Ouija boards are unconscious. Your unconscious is guiding you. Doesn't mean that a spirit isn't connecting to you on the unconscious level and guiding you. But more often than not, like most psychic readings I've had in my life, it's their unconscious mind tapping into my unconscious mind telling me what I want to hear. And they're really not getting any psychic message. So the same thing with that. You could be your own unconscious. There's that's part of it, The runes that get picked is the unconscious mind is what shuffles the deck shakes the runes around and picks it out. So why do you need to get it back? If you're meant to have it and you are working with the gods, it'll come back. If not, if it doesn't come back, I would say then you have become more conscious and your unconscious mind is not playing tricks on you anymore. Maclovia Padilla, questions. We will keep you posted, teacher, on the autism. Is it okay to do mantra with boys? With the boys? Yeah, sure. You're the mother. So this is something that, traditionally speaking with Vedic mantra, mothers are supposed to chant for their children. So chanting to Ganesha, especially, is very powerful. So, you know, I'll give you one right now. This is a safe Ganesha mantra for everybody. Om Shri Ganeshaya Nama. Om Shri Ganeshaya Nama. Om Shri Ganeshaya Nama. In fact, you can chant that 4 times before you do your other mantras. It will open up the power of the mantra. That is something that you should be doing for your kids, and if you want to do that with them, Ganesha is a boy, by the way. He's not an elephant-headed man. He is a fat boy with a baby elephant head on. That's who Ganesha is. All right. Did I get all of the questions? I would also attempt celibacy to avoid these dreams. What dreams are you talking about? Wet dreams? If you're having wet dreams, it means that you're backing up. The fluids in you are backing up and it needs to be released. I don't know what dreams you're talking about, but let's see. I'll back up here. Good point. You're right. I have often have guilt after or have wet dreams after a long. Of course, you have wet dreams after a long while. That's only natural. I mean, it has to come out. This is what I'm saying. If you're having this kind of issue, not just you, but anybody doing celibacy, and the fluids are building up like this, you're not truly celibate. You're just holding it. True celibacy is without any effort on your part, the fluids change direction and start going up the spine, and you have no desire. I know from personal experience, I've done this. There have been times I've been celibate for long periods of time, longer than you would believe, and had no sexual desire. And I was doing all kinds of energy work. So people without doing any kind of energy work, or without a teacher, or they pick up some meditation off of the internet, or they read some book, and they try and do this and be celibate, and they end up having wet dreams or being so stimulated that they have to stimulate themselves and stop. That's not celibacy. I don't care how long you hold it, that's not celibacy. So if that's going on, you might as well just be releasing and just being normal. You're playing games with yourself, and you're worst case scenario, doing yourself damage. So so you feel condemned after you release because you have guilt. It has nothing to do with leaking energy. You just have guilt, and you need to work through that and just be natural. I mean, do you have guilt when you pee or when you poop? I mean, it's just a bodily release. That's all it is. It's just human. It's really sad that we have people who are so afraid to be human that they go through this and they do bad celibacy. There's nothing celibate about what you're doing. I think I've made my point. Russo Van Royen question, so how can I truly be celibate? I don't think you should be. The fact that you asked me that question, you have so much need behind it. You have this assumption that you need to be celibate and you're not going to be okay. You're going to lose energy, and I want to be spiritual, and I can feel it in your question. You don't need to be celibate. Somebody here, I'll give you an idea of who should be celibate. Just one question. The spirit fighting, which was a specific energetic martial art technique that I was taught, if you wanted to be able to go into let's say a place that was haunted, or a place where there were negative entities, you wanted to go. There are portals around the world where there are negative entities, come out of the underworld and all that kind of stuff. And there are places that are really nasty and need to be cleansed. If you wanted to go and have the energy to fight with them with your bare hands, you would need to be celibate. I know for a fact that you don't need that. And like I said, these were people that had very specific techniques and very powerful energy techniques that naturally on their own would shift, and they might have another technique here or there to do, but there would be no strain, there would be no stress, they would have no issue trying to stop themselves from releasing. and all of that energy would go into their hands and into whatever they were doing so they could go and accomplish their task. I'm almost certain that you do not have that power, and there's nothing that you're doing. And they don't have any weirdness about, I have to be celibate to achieve. There's none of that going on. This is just part of what they do, you know, and it's a normal thing. And when they were done, perhaps they would stop being celibate and they would go release and get married and have a wife and do whatever. So my suggestion for you, Russo, is to stop trying to be celibate and deal with the emotions that you have about your sexuality. Okay? All right. By the way, I do teach a practice on the thunderwizard.com. If you go to thunderwizard.com and sign up, there is a practice there that I teach for the subscribers. So again, if you're watching my channel and the only thing you're doing is you're coming onto the thunderwizard.com channel and that's all you're doing, you are missing out on huge, huge volumes of specific teachings where I teach you very specific things to do energetically, energy-wise. I do talk about celibacy and I give some tips and some techniques on what to do to change your energy for celibacy. And, you know, but even if, forget about celibacy, if you just do some of the things that I teach, the amount of power you get, you won't ever have to worry about celibacy, ever. So I would recommend going on to my YouTube channel, even if you just do the Thor's Hammer. Again, people, if you want to benefit from my channel, you got to watch my videos and do the exercises. I recommend going to thunderwizard.com. Very soon, you will be going to, what did I say it was? Rune Reading Certification.thunderwizard.com if you want to learn everything I have to teach in one place about runes. All right. Anything else? I don't see any more. One more question, and I'll make this my last question. Sean, question, are there any of those portals you know of in the USA? Why are you asking me? Am I going to go tell you where that is? I do know of one. If so, can you say where? Why? Why do you want to know? What kind of an idiot would I be if I told you where it was, knowing that it's a very dangerous place? What kind of a stupid idiot teacher would I be to share to the whole world where that was? So yes, I do know of one place, and no, I'm not going to tell you where it is. All right, there you go. That's it for me. I'm going to put up the thing here. Here are the 9 minds for the 9 worlds. Okay, so that will be part of the teaching, by the way. That's something I made up for part of the teaching. All right, so that's it for me today. Thank you so much, my friends. It has been wunderbar for me to be talking with you. I got sort of a German French guy. By the way, that's all French is. French, the French accent is simply a German guy trying to speak Latin. Did you know that? You know the play Les Miserables? French people get so into their pronunciation. The reason why they pronounce it Les Miserables is if you took a guy with a really thick German accent and asked him to pronounce Les Miserables, he would say Les Miserables. That's all the French accent is. It's a bunch of German warriors that came down into Gaul and then tried to speak Latin. And now you have the French language. Thank you. There you go. Enjoy that. Now I've pissed off all the French people, but I don't care. All right. I think I was a Frankish warrior in a past life who converted to Christianity. I think that's why it pisses me off so much. Anyway, that's all for me, my friends. I look forward to our next interactions. Until next time, please enjoy this little movie I put together for you.